Hey guys, this is Josh from PhotoFix, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a Lightroom tutorial on how to bring more life into a photo. This was the original shot that I shot. It was shot in the shadow of the side of a barn. This was an engagement shoot that I was doing. And you can see it's pretty blue, a little bit desaturated, and of course it doesn't seem to have too much life into it. The end result that we're going to be trying to get is something similar to this. Again, you can see it's been brightened up quite a bit, has a little bit more natural tones, and it definitely looks like it has quite a bit more life in the photo. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing that we need to do is under our basic controls is we need to increase the temperature. So I need to bring some more warmer tones into it. So we'll add a little bit more orange. As you can see, it already makes a huge difference. If we look at the before and the after, just changing the temperature already makes it look quite a bit more natural. Okay. Again, anytime you shoot something in a shadow, it's going to be usually pretty blue. So you may have to always increase those warm tones. As for the tint, I think I'm okay with the tint. It doesn't look too bad. May add a slight magenta. I don't know, maybe like +2 or something like that. That's fine. Again, I feel like the tint is fairly balanced. It's just the temperature that I really needed to kind of focus on there. Aside from that, we're going to kind of pop this out a little bit. Again, it does look a little bit flat at the moment, so we're going to do a few adjustments here that are going to make it pop. The first thing I'm going to start is brightening up just a tad with exposure, and then I'm going to add contrast in here. A contrast is going to really make it pop out quite a bit, probably 29% or so, or 29, plus 29 will be the best here. If we take a look at our history, the contrast, you can see how much it already really makes it kind of pop, gives it a little bit more dimension to it. Of course, when we've increased the contrast, there may be a few adjustments we need to do to kind of balance things out. So that you can see the contrast in the back, it made it a little bit brighter. Her hair, of course, is a little bit darker, those types of things. So we may balance a few of those things out by using some of the highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. So the first thing here, I'm going to probably bring down the highlights just a tad to get a little bit off of the white off of her forehead. And the background was a little bit bright there, so we'll probably, maybe not so much, maybe like there or so, that will probably be okay. We'll turn this history off so we don't have to continuously see it. In terms of the shadows, I'll probably increase this just a little bit. What that's going to do is it's going to give more of a, as you can see, a little bit of rim lighting to her hair. And it brings a little bit more detail in the darker area of her hair as well. Okay, kind of just brightens it up a little bit there. The whites, I feel like we're okay on the whites. I don't want to add too much white in here because, again, her shirt is already white. We have a few things in here that are already pretty white. Again, because of the light, her earrings are getting pretty white, and her teeth, of course. So we need to make sure that we're not adding too much white in there to really blow things out. So we'll probably leave that in there. Again, I don't want to decrease it too much because I don't want to add much more darker areas in there, so we'll leave it as is. The blacks, I'll crush them a little bit. What that's going to do, as you can see, is it's adding a little bit more depth to her hair. Again, we don't want to do a too lot. If we look back at the history, you can see it is adding just a little bit more dimension to her hair. So primarily, as well as it's affecting a few other things, but primarily it's noticeable again and in the hair. In the depth there, so I feel like that's pretty solid. Again, so far from what we've done, we're now here already. Looks pretty solid so far. Clarity, I'm not even gonna mess with it too much, and maybe you can pump it up just a slight bit, but again, nothing too much. I don't want to use the clarity to affect things too much, because clarity can really make your photo look pretty unrealistic or rustic. In this case, I still want to keep her elegance. I don't want to, again, if we really increase this, you can see it starts to look pretty unrealistic. I mean, it all depends on the look you want. In this particular case, I don't want that style of look, so I'm not going to increase it by too much there. I do want to focus a little bit more on making this a little bit more saturated. So as the image that we're looking at right now, it still seems a little bit desaturated. So I'm probably going to increase maybe the saturation, maybe slightly the vibrance as well, because I do want to bring in a little bit more color into it. So if we crank up the vibrance just to see what it's affecting, we can see that it is adding a lot of blue. It's slightly affecting his maybe some magenta, a little bit of the orange tones as well. So I'll probably slightly increase this, maybe 14 or so. That's probably okay. Again, this is what we were at, and this is what we changed it to. Again, not a huge difference. And then we do want to increase the saturation. Again, the saturation, if we pump this up to see what it's doing, is it's primarily adding a lot of orange. Okay, we do want to add a slight amount because you can see that, again, their faces are looking a little bit pale. Okay, so we do want to add in a little bit of orange back in, but not too much. We don't want to overdo it here. Okay, again, that's where we were. This is where we are now. I think it looks okay so far. It is kind of looking a little bit orange, but we'll fix that in just a moment. Okay, from here, I'm not going to go into the tone curve. I feel like we've done a lot of adjustments already, so I'm going to leave that. But I am going to go into the saturation here and mess with this just slightly. In terms of the red, if we take a look what the red's affecting, it's affecting primarily just her lips, the edges of his shirt. We don't want to blow those out too much. As you can see, it already adds a lot of extra detail in here that we don't want. So I'm just going to do a slight adjustment on the red here. Just again, not a whole lot. We don't want to affect too much there. The orange, this is where I'll bring it down just slightly. Again, not a whole lot, but as you can see, the difference here, it is slightly bringing a little bit more of that orange out because we don't want it to look too crazy, like they're super tanned or anything like that. Okay, I am going to add a little bit of yellow, extra yellow in the set, increase the saturation in yellow. This will probably add in a little bit on the side of her cheek. If we really pump this up, I keep doing that where I press 1 on my mouse. We'll set this to a 5-star rating. Okay, anyways, so as we increase the yellow, you can see it really affects the rustic stuff in the background and a little bit on the side of her face, right? Not a whole lot. Again, we're going to just slightly increase this just to make things a little bit more natural here. Aside from that, I'm going to leave the green, aqua blue. Okay, maybe can take out a slight bit of blue, but we're not going to do a whole lot more there. That's probably okay. Again, you're not going to be able to tell too much of a difference, especially probably on your side. The purple, if we take a look at the purple and what that's affecting, again, it's just a little bit on his hat, a little bit on the back of, or basically on his back. So it's not really affecting all that much. We can add a slight amount in there, but we're going to leave that primarily where it's at. And then the magenta, this I do want to bring up quite a bit because I want to add a little bit more color in his shirt. His shirt's pretty desaturated and kind of blown out with the light. So I'm going to add a little bit more color in by increasing the magenta quite a bit. Again, as you can see, if we take a look at the history, it doesn't make too much of a difference even with that pretty significant increase we've done, but it does take a little bit less of the brightness out of it and puts a little bit more color in there and defines his shirt a little bit more to make it pop. Okay, so I think that looks pretty solid so far. Again, this is what we were at. This is where we are now. Again, it's already looking pretty great with just some of those simple adjustments. From there, we're not going to go into split toning. Nothing we need to do there at the moment. We do want to focus on detail. So you can see we have, this is my focal point with the eye. If I need to take a look at that again, make sure I have the right focal point. I can go over eye, focus on it. It was pretty close in terms of a good solid focus here. A little bit off. as you can see, it's not completely sharp there. So I do want to increase the sharpness just a tad here to kind of make sure that this gets a little bit sharper. As you see, when I've sharpened it though, it has added in quite a bit of grain there. So we want to use the noise reduction function, again, just slightly, not a whole lot. That's probably okay there. And that's just going to make generally the photo a little bit sharper. This is what we were at before, and this is after the detail. So again, if you take a look here, you'll really notice it. It may be a little bit hard to see on your guys' side, but it does make quite a bit of difference in terms of how sharp it is. Really, the last thing I want to do here is the lens correction. I usually like to do this on my photos. So we want to enable profile collection, or correction, sorry, and go ahead and select Canon. That's what I shot. I do have a profile already set up for this 50. Again, you can select whatever lens you were using. I was using a 50 to shoot this. So again, as you can see, it's just a slight difference in distortion. It helps calculate some of that, which we'll go ahead and do that. And then last thing we'll do here is the effects. I'm just going to add a slight vignette, nothing too major, just to bring your eyes in just a little bit more into the into her face here. So you can see just adding that vignette just slightly around the edges, those brighter areas in the corners. It kind of takes your attention away from that a little bit more and brings it more into the central area of the picture, so that makes it look quite a bit better. Okay, but again, vignetting's up to you guys if you like to do that stuff or not, but I feel like in this case it will help kind of bring the focus more in here. And that's really it. In terms of our Lightroom edit here, it's pretty simple. This is what we were at, this is what we are now, just a side by side so you guys can see. Quite a bit of difference. Didn't take us very long, and we have a huge difference in the quality of the photo. What we can do from here is we could take this into Photoshop, do some additional corrections and things like that on their skin, and it may be another tutorial that I'll make for you guys in the future. A few things we could do to clean up some of the things on this photo more than just the color correction. But as for a color correction, I think this is fairly solid. Again, it does bring a lot more life into the photo. You can see it's much better to look at in terms of this one, which was very desaturated and of course fairly blue. So this definitely has brought a lot more life into it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you guys in the next video.